How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Gear Vault. Today in the vault, we've got the Ruger American Gen 2 Ranch chambered in 22 ARC. In this video, we're going to be going over some general specs, first impressions, as well as talking about the shootability of this rifle, as we have actually already taken this rifle out and shot it some. Now, I will have a separate video coming out of the actual range day and shooting this rifle, so if you want to see that, make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss that one when it comes out. We'll also be talking about like the pros and cons, like what I like and dislike about this rifle. Keep in mind this is my personal preference and my opinions are just that, they're just my opinion, but at the end of the video I'll kind of talk about who this rifle might be for, as well as if I think that it's a good buy at the current price point. So before we talk about anything else, I do want to mention that I've obviously already got a scope mounted up to this rifle. This is the Leupold VX3 HD 4.5 to 14 by 40. This is a good scope, like if you're looking for a scope to keep the weight of a rifle down. That wasn't necessarily my intentions with this setup, but it is a product, I guess, if you will, of what you get whenever you add this scope. It is lightweight. I want to say it's like 14 or so ounces, which for the magnification you're getting, and honestly for the clarity of glass, the CDS reticle, like you're getting a lot at a super lightweight, and honestly at a pretty reasonable price. So I think that if a guy is looking to have decent magnification while keeping his build pretty lightweight, this is a super good option with this VX3 4.5 to 14. Got it on here with the Leupold, just kind of standard Picatinny lows. I don't remember which model ring that is, but I'm 100% sure that it was one of their least expensive rings, just because this does not have a ton of recoil, as we'll talk about later, but no need to have some crazy strong rings. Just a good, just a good quality aluminum ring is going to be more than enough for this cartridge, as well as most other cartridges, to be honest. Now at this point, I'm sure most people watching this video have seen plenty of Ruger American Gen 2s, but let's be honest, the way they look compared to the old American, so much better. The stock looks so much nicer. The spiral fluted, Cerakoted barrels just look good. Now, a lot of people don't like spiral fluting. They want straight flutes or no flutes, whatever. I honestly don't know that it really makes a difference, but I will say that in general, just overall appearance of this rifle looks super good. So again, this is the Ranch model, so you're gonna have the 16.5-inch barrel on this one. That will come threaded for a muzzle brake. You got their new like splatter design stock, which looks so much nicer. You do have like a cheek riser here, kind of helps get you where you need to be, because it comes with this Picatinny rail, which is great. That's a great addition for value and stuff, but a rail is going to add height to your scope. So this rail with the low rings and that cheek riser, you end up with a pretty good alignment. You don't need any other adjustments or anything like that. Back of the stock, you've got the spacer in there. I've not tried to take it out, but it would appear online that you can take that out and kind of make it a compact rifle, which is probably a pretty good option if you're buying this for a youth or a smaller statured person. That would be a good option. Recoil pad, let me just pull it out of this gun vise here. Recoil pad is, I would say, not great. It's squishy on the sides, but right down the middle it kind of has like a firm line down through there, so it looks decent. It's kind of sticky and grippy, but as far as recoil pads go, it's definitely nothing too great. So the safety on these Ruger Americans is a tang safety. It's a 3-position, so in the back you've got the firing pin is locked, trigger's locked, bolts locked. When you go to that middle position, you've got the bolt is able to come open and trigger still won't engage. And then you've got fully forward, which is the fire position. Now in my video where I was talking about the Savage Trailhunter Light, I mentioned that the safety on the Savage seemed a little stiffer, a little bit less easy to push off, which I actually liked, because the last 308 Ruger American Gen 2 Ranch that I had, the safety was, I won't say loose, but it was just really easy to set off. And so if you're carrying it through the field and you want to kind of have it on your shoulder like that, a lot of times my hand would kind of roll into that safety and set it off. And this one, I really can't do that with. And so I don't know if the one I had was the exception or if this one's the exception, but this one is definitely a little stiffer. So I do actually like that. I mentioned already that the barrel is threaded. It is threaded 1/2 by 28, and it does come with this radial muzzle brake on it. And if you know anything about the Ruger Americans, and I guess a lot of Rugers in general, sometimes that muzzle brake is extremely difficult to get off the barrel. I've seen people say you've got to heat it up, you got to use, vice grips, whatever. I've seen, I think, Hootie Hoo's barrel unscrewed from his chamber. They get them on there tight. And so I picked this gun up from Shields the other day, and I specifically said, because I'm like, how many do you have in back? And he's like, I got 6. I'm like, listen, if you don't care, go through them and make sure that you're getting me one that the muzzle brake will actually come off of without me having to use heat or vice grips. And he comes back and he's like, hey, found one. So I'm like, sweet. So this one actually just pops right off, which is the way Daddy likes it. Bolt and action on the Ruger American Gen 2 is pretty smooth, I would say. It doesn't seem overly sloppy. Bolt lift, I'm not sure if they actually say on their website, but it would appear that it's maybe like a 70-degree lift, which I like a lot better than a 90. The issue that you'll run into with a lot of these rifles that have a 90-degree bolt lift is if you have a scope with a throw lever, twist it all the way to the fully magnified position, I've had them to where they actually hit the bolt. But the Ruger American Gen 2 wrench seems to have a good amount of clearance, so no worries there. The trigger that comes on the Gen 2 wrench is the Ruger Marksman trigger. It would be kind of comparable to a Savage Accu trigger. You do have the blade in the middle, which I'm not a fan of, as most of you know, but it is what it is. Once you get it back, it's not the end of the world, but pull that back. I would say 4 pounds, if I was to guess. It says 3 to 5 pounds from the factory is what you're gonna have as far as adjustability. It feels like it's kind of in the middle there. Barrel is Cerakoted on this. This one is Cerakoted gray. If you get the regular Gen 2 rifle, it'll also be gray with the gray stock, I believe. And then the green model, which is the Predator, has that burnt bronze, which that one looks pretty sweet too, I'm not gonna lie. But I specifically wanted the ranch model because of that short barrel and the ability to throw a suppressor on this rifle and still not have an overly long setup. Just real quick, double checking my information that I'm giving you all from the Ruger website. It is a 70-degree bolt throw. The spacer, if you take it out, would go down to 12 inches. So currently it says it's at 13 3/4. It would go down to 12 if you take this out, which is awesome. That would put it down at a nice, short, compact size. This cheek riser is also removable, but to be honest, I think you need it even with the low rings. Unless you were to get rid of this Picatinny rail altogether, that's about the only reason I would see you ever needing to remove that cheek riser. Medium contour barrel, threaded, cold hammer forged, patented power bedding integral bedding block system, 1-piece bolt, 70-degree throw, oversized bolt handle, factory installed 1-piece Picatinny scope base, lots of other available accessories. Now, before we get into the actual shooting and how this thing performed at the range, I do want to say one negative, and it's literally the only negative I have on the whole thing, and it's the only negative I had on the ranch, other than the safety thing, the ranch I had prior, I should say. The safety was nitpicky, I will give you that. It's not that big of a deal. But the biggest thing that I have with these ranch models, and it's clearly because of the cartridge that I get them in or whatever, but this magazine I do not like. In my opinion, and this is my opinion, I want my hunting rifle to be flat across the bottom, and if not flat, darn close to flat. Because that's where I carry it at. I don't use a sling, I carry it, just like this in the field. When I'm hunting, I'm carrying it around, I carry it right there. I don't have the ability to do that with this magazine in here. The other thing is, These metal magazines are a little bit noisy, but probably not the end of the world, I guess. But it is. It's one, I think it makes it more ugly. Two, a little noisy. And three, it just makes it to where it's not comfortable to carry. Now, once I get a suppressor on there, maybe that changes that balance point to be a little forward, and it's not the end of the world anyway. But as for now, I do not like that magazine sticking down, but it is what it is. Last thing I'll say about the magazine is that is a 10 rounder. So this rifle by itself, is kind of the way you are seeing it right now, doesn't weigh that much. As a matter of fact, before I started this video, I put it on the scales, and empty mag, scope, these rubber scope covers, just the way you see it. The setup came in at 7.35 pounds, which is pretty freaking light, to be honest with you. However, if you throw 10 rounds in this magazine, now all of a sudden you've added quite a bit of weight. Is what it is, but just putting it out there. This rifle set up with these rings, this scope, empty mag, coming in at 7.35 on my scales. Real quick, let's talk about the cartridge and why I chose the 22 ARC. So the initial thought with this rifle is I want the least recoiling rifle that I can get that will also comfortably take a whitetail, because I wanted something for my daughter to be able to hunt with this year. And she's not even recoil sensitive, she's just kind of timid. So she's one of those people that until she does it and sees that she can do it, she doesn't feel like she can do it. And so she was worried about noise, she's worried about recoil. The anticipation, like as the trigger's about to break, really gets to her. So I told her, I said, I will find you the least recoiling thing possible that I think you can comfortably use to take a deer this year. And I said, if you do that and you don't like it, you'll never hear about it from me again, but I would like you to at least try it and see what you think. So I landed on the 22 ARC for that. Looking at the ELDX with an 80 grain bullet, I mean, I've seen a lot of deers taken on YouTube with that particular round. Also, I mean, I think, wasn't it the one dude took a moose with the 22 ARC with the ELDX 80 grainers? I mean, that's saying quite a bit, to be honest. Also, there's a company called Copper Creek that's loading a 77 grain LRX, which I would be interested in getting my hands on and trying that. I think that'd be a super good whitetail bullet. So when I picked this rifle up, I also got a box of the Precision Hunter with the 80 grain ELDXs showing 3,000 feet per second, and that's obviously out of a 24-inch barrel. I also got the V-Match, the 62 grain ELD VTs, because figure, heck, adding another rifle to the mix might as well make it something that I can use as well. So I figure with these 62 grainers, that would be a good option to take for varmint hunting around here in North Dakota. So I got these two to try. Didn't get any of the match, like the ELDMs or the like the black ammo, which is also an ELDM, but it's the 75, and then they got the 88 grain ELD matches in like their match line of ammunition. Didn't get those because, to be honest, I'm not a match shooter, I'm a hunter, and those might shoot awesome. Doesn't really matter to me if they shoot great. If the hunting rounds don't shoot good, then I really have no use for the rifle. Now, if that's something that you want to see down the road is some videos with the match stuff, I'd be happy to do that. It's just right off the get-go, I don't really have a need for that ammunition. Picked this rifle up about a week ago. This whole week leading up to range day, my daughter was super nervous, kept trying to talk her down and even had to do a little bribing. But either way, we went out to the range and I did a quick bore sight with this, and first shot was within an inch of the bullseye at 25 yards, mind you, not shooting great distance here because this was for her, not for me. So 25 yards, made a small adjustment, fired I think 6 rounds with the Hornady ELD VT 62 grainers, and supposedly 3,300 feet per second out of a 24-inch barrel. I was getting more like 2950 out of this 6.5 or 16.5 inch barrel. But recoil, basically non-existent. So I was super, super pumped. The first time I pulled the trigger, I was so relieved because you can read all you want about like what the recoil is and how this this has no recoil. I mean, people say 6.5 Creedmoor has no recoil, but the fact is it actually does. And to some people that would matter. And this one truly, I mean, yes, there's something there, but it's as close to no recoil as I've ever felt without being like a 22 long rifle or something. So I was super pumped about that. Also, I'll say it was ultra windy. We were only shooting at 25 yards, so I really found nothing with the accuracy, and I wasn't trying to find anything with the accuracy. I will say that at the 25-yard distance that we shot, it seemed like the precision hunters shot a little bit better. That being said, we shot the 62 grainers. I shot 6 rounds, got the speeds, got it on the chrono on the Athlon Rangecraft, came out to around 29.50 average. It was Bentley's turn, which is my daughter. It was her turn to try it out. First shot, she was nervous as a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs, but she finally pulled the trigger. And once she did, she was like, hey, this wasn't so bad at all, which I had ear plugs and ear muffs over top of those plugs because it still has the brake on. It doesn't have a suppressor yet. So it's loud, it's short, and it's got a brake. So I wanted to make sure the noise wasn't going to bother her, and it didn't. She could barely hear me talking. This was not a problem for her. I was like, how's the recoil? And she's like, yeah, I don't even notice it. So that was super great. Her 3 shots at 25 yards were all touching, and they were touching right where my shots were. So I knew that she was actually shooting well, which was awesome. After that, I let my 7-year-old son shoot it. Now, granted, this does not fit him at all. Basically, his shoulder was over top of this and his head was down at a weird angle, whatever. But I knew that based on the amount of recoil that was not there, it wasn't gonna be an issue. He shot, and his shot was in the same spot. So like, he shot it really well. He could care less about the recoil. He was just shooting. After that, he shot his 22 for a little bit. I let my daughter shoot the ELD X's. We lined up some gallon water jugs and put a little target on one of those for her. We wanted to catch a bullet. She shot that and blew them up. It was super fun. She enjoyed it. We actually did catch the bullet. It was about 20 yards is where the water jugs were. Jacket core separation, but ultimately it performed better than I would have expected at that distance. The 16.5-inch barrel, I think, probably tames that speed down to a point that if you shoot a deer close range, you're not going to run the risk of it blowing up, or at least the risk is much lower. So I think that's actually a good thing with this rifle. Bullet number 2 into the water jugs, same thing. Went through 3 water jugs, we caught it. Jacket core separation, but really only had 2 pieces of bullet. It didn't explode at all. So in the next video coming up, you will see all of this. You'll see what we did at the range. You'll see her shooting. You'll see the lack of recoil. You will see the jugs exploding, and then we'll probably do a podcast after that, just kind of bringing this all together, talking about it. We'll weigh the bullets, show you what those look like at 20 yards, which is interesting to me because we shoot more deer at 20 than we do 400, right? Especially for a youth rifle, which is what this is going to be, at least for now. I'm more interested to see what these bullets are going to do sub 50 yards than I am at, longer distances. Now, regarding the price of this rifle, these normally are going to be around $600, and that's going to be whether you get the Ranch, the Standard, or the Predator. They're all around $600, but currently Shields, which is our local sporting goods store, they've got a sale running where it's like $550, it's $50 off, and I was like, hey, might as well try one of these things, because Ruger's one of the only budget-friendly rifles that are making the 22 ARC right now. So that's what we wanted to do. We got it, and I'm honestly happy with it. I think for what you get with these Ruger American Gen 2s, with the Cerakote and the threaded barrel and the brake and the Picatinny rail and just everything about them, typically the accuracy is pretty decent too. So for $550, I think it's a super good option. Used to, I would say, get a Tikka, but man, those things just keep going up and up in price every day. They're still a great rifle, but there's just no comparison to this rifle at $550. I think you're getting a lot for your money. So who is the rifle for? The Ruger American Gen 2 Ranch. I would say anyone, honestly. I would say anyone that is looking for a budget-friendly, pretty good rifle that has a short enough barrel that you can throw a suppressor on and not have some god-awful thing to carry through the woods. If that's you, I don't think you're going to be upset with it. If you're looking for the most high-end stock and the greatest trigger and you know, quarter MOA accuracy, might not be the rifle for you. But aside from that, I think bang for the buck, it's gonna be super hard to beat this rifle for sure. Just realized I forgot to mention the velocity with the Precision Hunter out of the 16.5-inch barrel. We were averaging around 2650. So they were showing 3,000 feet per second, roughly 350 feet per second loss with the 8-inch less barrel. And actually that's about exactly the same loss with the 62 grain ELD VTs as well. Shows 3,300, we were getting 2,950. So if you are curious about how much velocity you're gonna lose going with a 16.5-inch, I would say figure about 350 feet per second and you're gonna be right in there. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it helpful or informative. Stay tuned, watch the channel, subscribe to it. That way, whenever the range video comes out in a few days, you're not gonna miss that. That one's super important to me because like I said, my daughter, I didn't know if she was ever gonna even wanna shoot a gun larger than a 22. And so I was super excited, super proud of her that she was able to do that. Thankful for this rifle cartridge combination for allowing her to do that and being comfortable with it. So subscribe to the channel, check that video out when it comes out. Let me know what your thoughts are on the American Gen 2s, specifically the Ranch. Let me know if you've ever shot a 22 ARC and what your thoughts are on that cartridge. I'm actually pretty impressed with it so far. If you want to follow me on Instagram, you can find me at The Gear Vault or The Gear Vault Podcast. Appreciate y'all watching. Until next time, y'all be safe.